Hare Krishna. So this verse, spoken by Lord Kapila to his mother, Devahuti, is meant for explaining the glories of devotional service, the title of this chapter. So in the previous verses, Lord Kapila has been speaking about association of devotees. What kind of devotees? That is clarified here. Satam prasangan, in the association of pure devotees. So it's not just association of any devotee or any devotees, but association of pure devotees. Discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That also has been referred to in a previous verse. That such pure devotees, their characteristic is engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me, in the 23rd verse of the same chapter. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakriti mashrita bhajanti ananya manaso. So Mahatmas, same as Sadhu, that's described by Prabhupada in previous few verses. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, clearly Mahatma or Sadhu is described, one who is a devotee. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakriti mashrita. Mahatmas or devotees take shelter of the internal potency of the Supreme God. Not the external potency, not the material energy, but the spiritual energy. And this another symptom is that how do you know they have taken shelter of the internal potency? Bhajanti ananya manaso. They engage in pure devotional service. Ananyas chintayanto mam. Ananya bhakti. So many places in the Bhagavad Gita, pure devotional service is specifically referred to. So similarly, such pure devotees, what is their actual activity? Bhajanti. What do they do? Bhajanti means what do they do? Satatam kirtayanto mam. Immediate next verse. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridamprata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. They worship Krishna by constantly singing his glories, chanting his glories, describing his glories. This is also described in the 10th chapter. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva. One who knows Krishna is the ultimate source of everything. Such a person. Bhajante ma buddha. They are the most intelligent people and they engage in devotional service, pure devotional service. Dridhavrataha. Bhajante ma dridhavrataha. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattas sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. They are intelligent, but intelligent in what way? Bhava samanvitaha. They are actually situated in the perfection of devotional service called bhava and prema. Bhava samanvita. Then immediate next verse after that, 10.9, Krishna says, Machitta. If they are bhava samanvitaha, they are intelligent, then the characteristic is Machitta, they always think of me. Madgata prana, their lives are dedicated for my service exclusively. Bodhayanta parasparam. They converse with each other about what? Bodhayanta parasparam. Kathayantascha mam nityam. They are only discussing subject matter of me, my glories, my activities, my qualities, my names, my paraphernalia, my abode. Kathayantascha mam nityam. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. They take pleasure and they are fully satisfied by such discussion. So same thing is told here in the 25th verse. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido. Association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. Bhavanti Hritkarna rasayana katha. Same thing what is told in the Bhagavad Gita. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So, Tushyanti, pleasing to the heart, that is described here as Hrit rasayana katha. Karna is that which is pleasing to the ears, is ramanti, pleasing to the senses, and satisfaction within the core of the heart. Not only pleasing to the senses, but pleasing to the senses, the mind, the intelligence, the ego, and ultimately pleasing to the soul. That way, somebody engages in ordinary sense gratification, which is available even for animals and lower creatures. That is pleasing to the senses, but it may or may not be pleasing to the mind. Just like somebody likes rasgulla, somebody else likes some other sweet. So even though any sweet, both the persons who like different sweets, they taste it as sweet, something relishable, something pleasing to their senses, sense of tongue at least. But to please the mind, the person who likes rasgulla more than other sweets has to be given rasgulla, has to eat rasgulla. Even though both are tasting sweet and they like the sweet taste of any sweet, but still, for pleasing to the mind, it has to be rasgulla for one person, some other sweet for some other person. So that's why I say, when it is pleasing to the senses, it need not necessarily be pleasing to the mind. If it is pleasing to the senses and the mind, it need not be pleasing to the intelligence. Just like a diabetic person likes sweet very much. And that too among sweets like rasgulla, the maximum. Now when he eats a rasgulla, the intelligence doesn't appreciate that very much. Why? I've got diabetes. I'm eating this sweet. It's going to aggravate my sugar level. And I have so many problems. My sugar gets up. So pleasing to the senses and the mind, not pleasing to the intelligence. What if it is a person who's healthy, not having diabetes and likes sweet very much? Likes sweet, but likes rasgulla very much and eats a rasgulla. It is pleasing to the senses, to the mind, to the intelligence, but may not be pleasing to the ego, false ego. Why? The fellow who served me just threw it like this and went away. You should serve pleasingly, nicely, no? I'm not a beggar begging from him, give me some sweet. No. Is that the way to serve? So it may not be pleasing to the ego, false ego. So mother is lovingly serving the son, his favorite sweet rasgulla. How will she serve? Very lovingly. So when mother is serving the child very lovingly, a son, it is pleasing to the senses, to the tongue, pleasing to the mind, pleasing to the intelligence. Child is healthy, son is healthy, he is not having diabetes. And pleasing to the ego, false ego also, but need not be pleasing to the soul. Why? Because the mother is ignorant, has not offered that rasgulla to Krishna. So what is happening in the process? Even though lovingly served, something healthy, something nice, but still it is entangling. It is going to give a reaction. The son is becoming obliged to the mother for her service. That's called rina, entanglement in the material world, because of which there is repetition of birth and death. So that is also explained here. Bhavanti hritkarna rasayana kathaha. So many types of katha. Cinema katha and all kinds of other katha, it goes on. But they will not please the soul unless that katha is in relationship with Krishna or his pure devotees. So this Mama Virya Samvido is Hritkarna Rasayana Katha. And the effect of such hearing, not only it is pleasing to the senses, to the mind, to the intelligence, to the false ego and to the soul, but it is also opening the doors of liberation. One progresses on the path of liberation. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes cultivating such knowledge. Tajjoshanat. Cultivation. Cultivation means you just don't hear one day, oh, very nice, and then it's over. No. You have to systematically hear day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. Why? One gradually becomes advanced on the path of devotion. Even though here Prabhupada is writing, by cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced, means every day you hear Krishna Katha, you make some advancement. But if you stop hearing, even the advancement is stopped. Even the advancement is stopped. So gradually you become advanced, means every time you hear, make advancement. That's the meaning of gradually. But how long will it take if you're making advancement? How long will it take? Ashu. Very, very quickly you make advancement. And what does this quickly mean, Ashu? It means bhakti, referring to pure devotional service, is the fastest means of advancement for one who practices yoga or practices self-realization, for one who is interested in ultimate liberation. Bhakti is the fastest process. Other processes also lead to liberation, lead to self-realization, but they are not as fast as bhakti. How quickly can somebody advance to reach ultimate perfection? What is Shukadeva Goswami saying in Bhagavatam? Something very, very revolutionary Shukadeva Goswami is telling. One moment is enough. Parikshit Maharaj He had 7 days time, very less time for perfecting himself. After being engaged in so many material activities, responsibilities as a king, as an emperor, as a father, as a family person, society, friendship, love, everything. So he got notice of death. Then immediately, being very, very responsible, very, very alert regarding his ultimate goal of life. And so he immediately decided, now I should retire from all these other responsibilities and duties. So he appropriately handed over responsibility of ruling the kingdom to his eldest son, and he went away to a holy place. He sat there in preparing for death. So he decided to associate with saintly persons and hear from them about the glories of Vishnu. But as a humble king, Kshatriya, he decided to get confirmation whether what he has decided is correct or the most appropriate. So he consulted the assembled saintly persons. The saintly persons not assembled, who was present there in the holy place. Holy place means a place where there are saintly persons, devotees, sadhus. Of course, sadhus, if we use in the sense of sadhu as a saintly person, a person who is interested in self-realization or person interested in ultimate liberation, there could be different types of sadhus. But Bhagavad Gita says sadhu means a devotee. Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavyaha samyak vyavasito hi saha. So according to Bhagavad Gita, sadhu means bhajate mam ananya bhak, ananya bhakti, bhajate. One who is engaged in pure devotional service, he is a sadhu, pure devotee. So such sadhus are different, and a holy place is a place where there are saintly persons who are serious or interested in self-realization. They could be pursuing the path of jnana or karma or ashtanga yoga or so many different paths described in the scriptures. So, those paths are slow advancement. Bhakti is quick advancement. So, even in bhakti, there are so many different processes. Navavida bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atmanivedanam. So, among these, Parikshit decided to sit and hear the glories of Vishnu, Shravanam. See, that also indicates humble position. The beginning of bhakti is Shravanam. Particularly for neophytes, it is recommended first of all you hear. Among the 9 processes, first you hear. So Parikshit Maharaj is very humble. He knows what he has to do, but he is adopting a humble position, taking a humble position. Humility is the quality of a devotee, and absolute humility is the quality of a pure devotee. He is the greatest devotee of his time, already well established in pure devotional service. Right from the time when he was in the womb of his mother, that time itself, he was personally protected by Krishna when his life was in danger in the mother's womb. Because if a Brahmastra released by Ashwatthama to kill that child in the womb. So, since he is a pure devotee, always was a pure devotee, always is a pure devotee. So, he is always sheltered by Krishna and he always depends on Krishna's protection only. So, Krishna Naturally, his pure devotees, always he'll protect. So Krishna entered his mother's womb and protected him against the Brahmastra. But then, Krishna's purpose of entering was not exactly to give him protection. Krishna can protect even without entering, without personally doing something. But then he entered for a different purpose. Not for a different purpose, for additional purpose. What is that? Most important purpose. To give him darshan of his personal form. So what happened? The child saw Krishna, and after Krishna entered, nullified the Brahmastra, immediately Krishna disappeared. Just for a brief moment he gave him darshan. And then Krishna disappeared. So this child saw the most beautiful form of Krishna. And then he's searching, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Krishna disappeared. Then he came out of his mother's womb. Then he's seeing, in the mother's womb he can't see any other person, correct? He can only see whichever place he is. All the different parts of the mother's womb. That's all the child can see. So when the child comes out, he'll see so many different persons. Mother, first of all the mother, and father, whoever. So he's examining, where is that person who I saw in the womb of my mother? Where is that person? So he got the name Parikshit, which means examiner. He's examining constantly. Where is that person I saw? Is he the person? Is he the person? Is he the person? No. So when you see somebody and looking for particularly a person, and you see among so many different people, you're always comparing that person's facial features or whatever to the one you want to meet or one you want to see. So constantly Krishna's form, picture is etched in his consciousness, and it will not go away till he actually sees Krishna. He's constantly looking, is this the person? Is this the person? He became known as an examiner. Parikshit. That's the way he got the name Parikshit. So when name-giving ceremony is done, a learned, name-giving ceremony is not an ordinary thing. It's called a samskara. It's a purificatory process. Samskara, cultural process, advancing in spiritual culture. How? A suitable name is given. Suitable name is given. So as a learned astrologer will prepare the birth chart or the horoscope, Jataka. And after preparing the Jataka, the learned astrologer examines the Jataka and foretells the future of the child. So regarding Parikshit, there's a whole chapter in the first canto of Bhagavatam. The birth of Emperor Parikshit. So this Jatako Vida, the experts in preparing the horoscope, the Brahmanas, they foretold Yudhishthira Maharaj, who was the emperor ruling that time, and Parikshit was born. So then they said that your grandson is going to be a great personality, pure devotee, and is glorified so many ways. So they could read from the horoscope, this is not an ordinary child taking birth. It's actually a pure devotee. So they glorified like that. So Parikshit, my point is, Parikshit is already a pure devotee. He doesn't require to do anything. He's already liberated. He has no fear of death. But taking a humble position, he decided to prepare for death. And he inquired from the saintly persons in that holy place, what should I do? I have decided that I am going to hear the glories of Vishnu. But is it the best thing to do? Will I be assured of guaranteed success in 7 days? So they began to consult among each other that what is the best method? Each one will think his method is the best, or each different type of saintly person will think he can only advise regarding the process he knows. He cannot advise about some other process because he's not learned that or he's not expert in that. So they began to consult among each other which will be the best process. So it appears like none of them were pure devotees among the saintly persons he initially met in that holy place. So they were discussing about the different processes that they knew. Because none of them was a pure devotee, nobody came up with the idea of pure devotional service or the path. So they decided 7 days is very less time according to the path I know. Another saintly person saying, according to the path I know, 7 days is very less time. So they all began to think, 7 days time, how can you get perfection? No, not possible. So as they were discussing, and nobody was able to come up with a positive answer for Parikshit's question, Shukadeva Goswami walked into the assembly. Shukadeva Goswami, when he walked into the assembly, among the saintly persons who were not living in that holy place, but who arrived from all over the universe, simply because they wanted to witness Parikshit Maharaj quitting his body. Some of them, of course, they could foresee Parikshit Maharaj is actually a great transcendentalist, a pure devotee. He is going to quit his body. So they all came to witness that. And some other saintly persons, they could even foresee Shukadeva Goswami is going to speak Bhagavatam on inquiry from Parikshit Maharaj about Krishna. So they came to hear Shukadeva Goswami speak Bhagavatam. So such saintly persons, they immediately stood up in that assembly. And because Shukadeva Goswami appeared like a madman, naked, walking around naked, surrounded by urchins, some useless vagabonds, teasing him, laughing at him, thinking he is a madman. So, when Parikshit walked into that assembly, immediately the saintly persons who are already knew who is Shukadeva Goswami, who is Parikshit Maharaj, they stood up. Then all others, this is not some ordinary person who is walking. He is actually Avaduta. Means, according to his position, according to his advancement, he is not dressing himself. He is neglecting all the social formalities of properly dressing, properly combing the hair, etc., etc. All that civilized ways of civilized human beings, he is neglecting all that because he is totally absorbed in Krishna consciousness, in the self. Chita prajna. So such a person, you cannot make out by external characteristics, except those who can read a person's heart by just looking at the facial features. You would have heard such and such a astrologer is a face reader. No? You would have heard, no? So they don't require to study a horoscope. They don't require to see the palm. Some see the palm and then tell about the future. Some read the horoscope and tell the future. There are some who can read the face and tell about the future. So among these great personalities who had assembled there, some were face readers. They immediately saw Shukadeva Goswami and immediately understood, oh, he is a Paramahamsa. Immediately they stood up out of respect for the Paramahamsa. So when they stood up, immediately others could understand, oh, we are not able to make out who this person is. He is a great personality. So then they all stood up. And Parikshit, he knew, because he is a pure devotee, he can recognize another pure devotee. So he recognized Shukadeva Goswami, pure devotee. And he stood up also. But apparently he was standing up in following the other saintly persons. So he stood up also. But he did something else which nobody else did. He welcomed Shukadeva Goswami into that assembly and again asked the same question which he was asking the other saintly persons. Because he is in need of some consultation. Right? But actually, within his heart, he knew who Shukadeva Goswami is. But externally, he did not post like, I know who Shukadeva Goswami. I am an advanced devotee. No. I've got a question to ask. What should I do next 7 days? So he humbly asked, welcome Shukadeva Goswami. And Shukadeva Goswami accepted that reception by Parikshit and all the assembled saintly persons. And Shukadeva Goswami took his seat. And then everything was grave and silent. All those urchins were following. They became afraid. What is this? So many saintly persons are welcoming him. Oh, he's not some mad man. So they all ran away from there. They disappeared into the wilderness. And then everybody else is silently sitting. Now, this saintly person is now going to answer Parikshit's question. So Parikshit very humbly welcomed him and inquired from him, what should I do? Shukadeva Goswami knew Parikshit Maharaj is anxious to prepare for death in 7 days. Parikshit did not ask, I am going to die in 7 days. He's not wasting time with all that. He's just asking what is the best method of preparing for death. So he's straight away telling, he knew that is 7 days enough? That is the anxiety. That's a question, which he had asked the other saintly persons. But Shukadeva Goswami knows. So he is telling, 1 moment is enough. Provided you fix your consciousness on Krishna. 1 moment is enough. So, bhakti is ashu apavargavartmani. The fastest process, quickest process. So even though Prabhupada says one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, it is for the process. You have to follow the process. And thereafter, he is freed. By following this process, you become free. Free from what? Free from all reactions. Free from all material entanglements, free from all, free from the influence of the 3 gunas, free from the influence of kala. Everything you become freed. So he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Shraddha Ratir bhaktir anukramishyati. Shraddha is firm faith. One becomes, develops firm faith that is called fixed. Nishtha. See, in that 9 steps for progressing in bhakti described by Sri Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasam Sindhu, Adav Shraddha, one takes shelter. There, Shraddha means one takes shelter. One has got some preliminary faith in the process of bhakti. One takes shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. So, these words, in the context you have to understand. You can't apply the same meaning or one meaning to all contexts. May be applicable, may not be applicable. So, Acharyas explain, Rupa Goswami explains, Shraddha is the beginning of the practice of bhakti, pure devotional service. Adav Shraddha. And what does it entail? It entails taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master if one has got some preliminary faith. Shraddha means faith. But in this context, Adav Shraddha, it means preliminary faith, little faith. This little faith is developed by accumulating what is called as Ajnata Sukruti. Ajnata Sukruti. Like Prabhupada, when he went to America, initially he was searching for some interested persons to preach to actually help them cultivate devotional service. So he would visit different places. He was going to one bookstore. See Prabhupada's greatness. How did Prabhupada maintain himself as a saintly person who's not going to work like ordinary people, some karmi? No. He was simply writing some literature, spiritual literature, and trying to sell that. And from the money he gets, he'll maintain himself. He had begun that even before he left home, his family, when he started publishing Back to Godhead. But after some time, 1944, he began publishing Back to Godhead. But after he retired from his family life and he was staying in Vrindavan, so then there's no money with him. He didn't take any money from home. So he had decided he is going to continue to publish Back to Godhead, and for publishing, he would go and request for a donation. For publishing, not for his food, not for his stay. And then some generous persons gave him some donation. So he printed. And after that, what is he doing with what he has printed? He's trying to sell that. And with that, he was maintaining himself. So same thing he did in America also. He was carried with him some volumes of Bhagavatam, first canto, first part, second part, third part. He had published 3 parts. And he carried that with him. And he went to a bookstore. In fact, the first sale he did is when he's getting off the ship. He told Captain Pandya that I have no dollars with me. He had only 40 rupees in his pocket. He not even exchanged that for dollars. Normally those days when somebody travels, the foreign exchange department of the government of India will give them up to some number of dollars in exchange for rupees. So Prabhupada had 40 rupees, but he didn't exchange them for dollars. I don't know why. Whatever be the reason. So he told Captain Pandya, I don't have any dollars with me. Can you give me some dollars donation? Yeah. And he didn't ask for donation just like that. He said, you please buy this set of 3 Bhagavatam volumes. So because I don't have any dollars, can you purchase this? He said, yes, Swamiji. How much? What is your price? He said, $16. And then Captain Pandya gave him $20 and said, this is from my side. I'll take the 3. So Prabhupada took $20 and with that he started in America. And after that, that $20 will get over in no time. So what will he do? So he took those remaining volumes. He had a trunkload of full books, these books. So he used to go to bookshop and request that bookshop to keep the volumes. They will not simply take like that. So normally they give advance payment for books that are in demand. So Prabhupada's book nobody knows. So Prabhupada said, keep it in your philosophy section. And if somebody purchases, then you sell that and you give me some amount, some arrangement he made. So some people agreed, elderly person, gentleman, so nicely he's speaking. So some booksellers agreed to keep without any advance payment. They said, if whenever it sells, we will give you money. And if it doesn't sell, you take back. Okay, Prabhupada agreed. So he would go periodically to that bookstore where he had kept and they were able to sell and he would collect whatever was sold. So that lady, one lady who's the manager of that bookstore, so Prabhupada would go and meet her and talk to her. And then sometimes Prabhupada would be thirsty. She would ask her, can I get some water for drinking? I feel very thirsty. So this lady says later on that anybody will ask her for water, she would say there is one water dispenser. Please go and drink water there. But somehow for Prabhupada, she felt like not telling him there's water there. She personally would go get water. Please. Now see the difference that it made in this lady's life. Anybody else, she would tell, go and drink water there. Maybe she'll get some punya. Not maybe. She will get some punya for directing or helping that person drink water when the person is thirsty. But in case of Prabhupada, it is not just punya. It is sukruti. So she was gathering ajnata sukruti. She didn't know this is sukruti. Sukruti means spiritual credit. She's advancing in spiritual life. Simply by offering Prabhupada water, personally going getting and giving him, she was advancing. So she became a devotee. Later on, she is narrating this to one of the devotees. Only in case of Swamiji, I would not tell him, please go and have that. So this is Ajnana Sukruti. By Ajnana Sukruti, somehow or the other, one renders devotional service. In the beginning, it is unknowingly, till one comes to know about bhakti. So, Ajnana Sukruti, one accumulates sufficient Ajnana Sukruti, then one is fortunate to meet a pure devotee and properly begin devotional service. So then, immediately the path of liberation is opened. And then, by practicing Shraddha, Shraddha comes to a stage, faith reaches a stage of Nishtha, when sufficient anartha nivritti has happened. Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, anartha nivritti. Then Nishtha, one becomes fixed. Fixed means the faith comes to a standard where one will become very serious about practicing devotional service, Bhajana Kriya, in Sadhu Sangha, for the purpose of complete anartha nivritti. One becomes very seriously engaged. So Nishtha, Nishtha is that stage, one becomes fixed. And this fixed Nishtha, it further increases with Ruchi and Asakti. Asakti is the stage of attraction. Attraction for devotion service, attraction for Krishna, attraction for association of pure devotees, attraction for practicing Krishna consciousness. To the extent that one cannot remain without actually practicing, without doing some Krishna conscious activity. All other things become distasteful. This after Ruchi, one develops a positive taste for Krishna consciousness. That taste is so very relishable, it is not relatively tasty. Just like if you like to eat some nice edibles, you're not familiar with all the edibles that are very nice. So you know a few things, but some new kind of edible you become introduced to. So then you taste that, you say, oh, very nice. But that very nice is something relative. Whereas this Ruchi, a stage of development of bhakti, it is so nice that I never tasted anything like this before ever. And that taste makes one very seriously do more of bhakti. But when asakti develops, attachment, I cannot remain without practicing bhakti, doing bhakti. And automatically, at that stage, everything else other than bhakti becomes distasteful. That distaste leads to automatically renouncing everything material. That's a stage that's described here as rati. And Prabhupada translates rati as attraction. It's actually in the Rupa Goswami's description, it is the stage of asakti. Then from asakti, what happens? Real devotion and devotional service begin. What is that real devotion and devotional service begin? Bhava samanvita, Buddha bhava samanvita. Bhava, the preliminary stage of prema. What is the preliminary stage of prema? Bhava. Bhava means ecstasy in executing devotional service. Already taste is there, positive taste. Attraction is there, attachment is there, but one experiences the different symptoms of bhava. What is that? Trembling of the body, tears flowing from the eyes, tears of joy, extreme joy, hair standing on end, voice getting choked up. All these symptoms will appear, confirming one has reached the stage of bhava. And that bhava matures into prema. So, real devotion and devotional service begin means the symptoms of bhava begin to appear. The devotee is completely renounced. The devotees develop full attraction and attachment for Krishna, for devotional service, for pure devotees. And stop. Mantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.